Hello duelists, Ojama Black here, and here to introduce you to another chapter of our Casual Corner. In today's episode, we'll be discussing one of my personal favorite decks that came out during Duelist Alliance, and that deck is Burning Abyss. Now without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another entry to our Casual Corner. To refresh everyone's memory, Casual Corner is comprised of creating decks for Yu-Gi-Oh! For those that only have a little money in their pocket at a time. Realistically, any archetype or deck can be considered a Casual Corner, however, they must follow under two specific rules. The first rule is, the main deck and the extra deck has to be below $120, and secondly, each card in the deck cannot be more than $15. So cards like Pie of Desires for now, and cards like Solemn Strike for now, and stuff like that are not going to be included. But with a reprint and Solemn Strike being reprinted very soon in the next structure deck, the prices will be decreased considerably. With any further ado, let's get into Burning Abyss. Burning Abyss came out during Duelist Alliance, and it was a TCG exclusive. And ever since it came out, it has been, I wouldn't say a plague to the community, just a really long-standing deck that's lasted for a very long time. When it first came out, we had Dante, Graf, Seer, and the other guys hanging out, and then slowly but surely they got more support until Cross Souls, when their whole entire archetype was basically finished, when they got Barbar and the Fusion Dante. And ever since then, the deck has always been in the meta scene, and it's been there for the last couple years until relatively recently. And even until before recently, they had archetypes and mixed archetypes of themselves, including Phantom Knights, which made it more relevant. But recently, with the inclusion of Zodiacs and like True Dracos, and even like ABCs recently in the last format, the deck hasn't really been able to stand up on 2 feet, so to speak. Without any further ado, let's get started into the deck profile, and then one of my personal favorite decks. This deck profile is more so like old school Burning Abyss, so to speak. It doesn't really play much of an engine besides the Speedroid engine, which we'll get into, but it's more so the standard Burning Abyss. So let's go on to the main monsters besides the Burning Abyss monsters themselves. The one and only Tour Guide, everyone's favorite. I never got the chance to play Tour Guide at 3 in this deck, but oh my god, she is one of the best cards in this deck, if not the best card in the deck. Basically a free Dante on summon, and basically special summon any Burning Abyss from your deck so that it doesn't get destroyed is amazing. So its effects are negated, and it's basically a free Dante. And you can also bring out cards like Finished Rhino Warrior, so you actually get a free Mill to Grave when it's sent to grave, which also is really nice. Next, I have more so the hand traps of a deck. I play 2 Effect Failers. I play Effect Failure in this deck because, yes, Ghost Ogre is still a good option, but for Casual Corner and for a lot of like decks in our format, especially with Casual Corner, most of them are mostly effect based on summon, or monsters on summon, or extra deck monsters I don't want to deal with. So I'd rather have Effect Failure more so than Ghost Ogre because I don't want to destroy them. I feel like in the game, the effects themselves will be more stronger in this Burning Abyss deck anyway. So it'll be 2 Effect Failures. But 1 Maxi, yes, you still play 1 Maxi because if you draw into it and your opponent does special summon a lot, it does give you a lot of advantage, which is good, too good to say the least. Then out of the Speedroid engine, I play the 1 Terratop, rest in peace. Unfortunately, he got hit because it's basically a free Dante, and it was basically a free rank 3, which, yeah, unfortunately, it did have to get hit. And I play the 1 Speedroid Taken Tomborg, pretty standard. But then I also play the 1 Speedroid Triad Dice. Not many people play Triad Dice, but with Terratop getting hit, and since this is kind of a more of a budget-friendly version of Burning Abyss, and budget-friendly version of the deck itself, I wanted to try Triad Dice because it's a free, not really a free, but it's more so of a good tuner that you can have, and it's besides Rubik in the deck. So you can actually make more synchros besides Virgil, which I'll get in the extra deck when I show you that as well. Also, if it's milled in Graveyard, you also can banish it to negate an attack, which also can be pretty beneficial. Because let's say they have something that would negate battle phase activation effects. Like let's say they're attacking me with a pistol on the field, and they're attacking my Beatrice, I wouldn't get the effect. I would rather negate the attack so that my Beatrice would get its effect from another attack next turn, or at least have my graveyard effects. So yeah, it's just a good card to have in the deck. Next of other one-ofs, I have one Crane. It's basically just it's basically just, again, a free Dante with way having grave, because when it's normal summon, you can select one level 3 monster in your graveyard and supposed to summon it with its effects negated. So you can do it a quick synchro play, you can make a free link free, etc. So just an overall pretty good card. Then I have one Black Luster Soldier. Since you do play a lot of lights and darks, like the entire Burning Abyss archetype is dark, and you have the cards like Dante and Effect Veiler, which are lights as well. So you would ever not want to banish one of your Dantes, but you have an Effect Veiler in there. You can just banish that when you're Burning Abyss, post summon this. And this is just game winning. You can banish and attack twice. So if you have this and they got Beatrice on the field, it's really hard for your opponent to really deal with it. Then the last one of, I play one Mathematician. Mathematician, it's just a good card in general. Yes, it's kind of slow, but with how the deck functions now, because you don't really play many engines like Phantom Knights, for example, with this, when it's on summon, you can send any card from any monster from your deck to the graveyard. It's level 4 or lower. So you'd send cards like Libic, so you could post summon a special summon Burning Abyss from your hand if its effect's negated, or bring back something, or like send a Scarm, or so you can search it in phase. And plus, when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard by battle, you draw one card. Which, yes, it is kind of slow, but if you brick it, at least it still gives you something. So it's not bad at one. Then the two ofs, I played two Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Fiendish Rhino Warrior came out a little bit before Beatrice came out. It came out in Bosch, I believe. And Fiendish Rhino Warrior really helped with a deck because Tour Guide was really the only monster that would bring out and protect the Burning Abyss because their effects are negated. But with Fiendish Rhino Warrior, it really helped because if you normal summon this and it revealed a special one of your Burning Abyss monsters, it protects them from being destroyed because your opponent must destroy this before you have to destroy something else, by card effects anyway. And as well, their self-destruction effect of Burning Abyss monsters don't go through because Fiendish Rhino Warrior protect from being destroyed. As well as, if this is sent to the graveyard by milling or being sent there from the field to grave, you get to send any Fiend monster from your deck to your grave, so you can send any Burning Abyss monster, which is also really beneficial for the deck. Now on to the Burning Abyss monsters. I play 3 Farfa. Farfa, I really like her as a card because, again, if you send her to the graveyard, it's a free banish till the end phase. So if it's an XYZ monster, all of the materials go. If it's a really troublesome card you have game, you can just banish it and get rid of it. So overall, it's just a really difficult, I wouldn't say difficult, but a really nice card to have in the deck because you can use it with Beatrice, you can send it with things like Thing Grieving or Mathematician to get rid of troublesome cards, or things that are in the way of you from preventing your opponent to really go off, which or also disrupting their combos, which is also really nice. Next, I play 3 Scarm, your main searcher in the deck. When Scarm is sent to the field to the graveyard, or from the hand of the graveyard or deck to the graveyard, you get to search for any level 3 Dark Fiend to add to your hand. So you would add cards like Tour Guide or any other Burning Abyss monster. So it's basically your main searcher for cards like Tour Guide because you don't want to mill it, so you'd rather search it as soon as possible. So it's usually the main card you really search for. And just like any other Burning Abyss, if you reveal it to special, you don't get the effect when it's sent to graveyard. That's the effect of all Burning Abyss monsters. I mean, yes, it is sometimes not that great to not get that effect that turn, but if you're really desperate to make rank 3 or make a Dante, you might have to push through it and just not get that graveyard effect that turn. Next are the 2 elves for Burning Abyss. I play 2 Alec. Alec I play for just a standard effect negation, because when it's sent to graveyard, it targets one monster your opponent controls and negates via its effect. It's just a really nice card overall, because let's say they have a, I don't know, like let's say something that boosts its attack based on how many materials it has, or it can boost attack based on just how many cards are on the field. You can just target so it lowers its attack, or just negate its effects in general. So this would be really helpful for you in general. Next, I play 2 Libic. When Libic is sent to graveyard, he special summons a level 3 Dark Fiend from your hand and negates its effect. So all the self-destruct effects of Burning the Abyss, if there's something else on the field besides Burning the Abyss monsters, would be basically negated. So if you have a like Map Petition and you send Libic to graveyard and you special summon a Seer from your hand using its effect, it wouldn't blow up because it's negating its effect, which just helps out with a typical Rig 3 plays. Next, I play 2 Barbar. Barbar is one of the strongest attack position monsters you have in the deck, which is also pretty beneficial to 1700, but also a burn effect and really win you some games, because if you send to graveyard, you can banish 3 other Burning Abyss cards, up to 3, sorry, Burning Abyss monsters or cards, and you can burn your opponent for 300 each besides himself anyway. So there's like some combos you can do with him or with like Beatrice or Nightmare Sharks. If you're attacking a Nightmare Shark, you can do a good 2900 attack directly, technically, because you're doing 2000 attack, and you're detaching him as material, so you're burning him for another 900. So you're really close for game. This is basically your own cowboy, if that makes sense. Then I play, now let's go to the one-ofs. I play 1 Calcab. Calcab, when he's sent to grave, he targets 1 set card on either player's side of the field and sends it back to hand. So if you have a difficult back row you don't really want to deal with, let's say where it's a Mirror Force or a Solemn Strike, you can try to bait it out with this, and just make sure you try to activate it then so you have to deal with it later, or just wait for it till next turn, if that makes sense. So you have to wait till next turn to set it again. Then I play 1 Rubik as a basic tuner. He's mostly there to make Virgil, because he can't be used for any other synchro plays besides that, unless its effects are negated with cards like Libic. But yeah, he's just a standard, 1 tuner we would use for making Virgil, and the 21 defense also kind of helps as well. Then I play the 1 Cagna. When Cagna is sent to graveyard, he sends 1 Burning Abyss spell or trap to the graveyard. Usually it would send cards like Good and Evil Burning Abyss, or Terminus in the Burning Abyss, or like older cards like Fire Lake and Traveler. But I don't play Traveler or Fire Lake in this build, mostly because with Seer and Graph being hit both to 1, it's not as good as it used to be. When Seer was even at 2, it was more beneficial. Excuse me. But with how the deck functions now, it's just kind of slow and kind of hinders you more than helps you. But yeah, just the 1 Cagna to send the 1 Terminus. Then, one of the all-time favorites, the 1 Graph. When Graph is sent to graveyard, you spell summons any Burning Abyss monster from deck, so it really, really helps with consistency and really helps with spamming the field. And also the 1 Seer. When Seer is sent to graveyard, you spell summons any Burning Abyss monster from grave. So you can bring back a Dante, bring back a Graph, and basically anything besides like Beatrice or like the Fusion Dante to prevent that. But the 1 Seer, like everyone knows the loop of like you got a Graph and bring Seer out, and then you Seer effect to bring back Dante from your graveyard. So it's just a really annoying card just to do the loop and just constantly have this and your Dante back and forth. And that is it for the main deck monsters. Now let's move on to the traps. I play 2 Fiend Grieving. Fiend Grieving is actually a pretty good card in my opinion. Not many people play it or played it back in Burning Abyss, but with how much graveyard resources are a thing now, I would like to play it mostly because you can disrupt their plays from grave and also send any Fiend monster from your deck to graveyard, so you can help speed up your deck, or also disrupt them by, like, say sending a Farfa, or let's say sending a Scarm to get an in-phase surge. So just really overall just helps speed up a deck and also disrupt your opponent. Then I play 2 Horn of Heavens. Horn of Heaven I used to play back when Seer was at 2, after the original ban list, after he originally got hit. Horn of Heaven is a really good choice, mostly because if you do tribute, like let's say a Dante or any of your Burning Abyss, you don't really lose anything from it. Like, yes, you lose a monster, but at the same time, you still get the floating-ish effect. You still get the search. You still get the special summon. You still get the Seer effect, the Farfa effect. You still get the Graveyard effect, which is still really beneficial. Now back to the one-ofs. I play 1 Lost Wind for that 1 negation for special summon monsters. And also if it's milled from, let's say, a Dante, you can just bring this back and set it when you special summon 1. a special summon and effect monster, which actually isn't bad. Excuse me, sorry. Then I play one Skill Drain. Skill Drain hurts so many decks nowadays because they really need their main deck monsters to get their effects off. But unfortunately, Burning Abyss doesn't really care because this deck, I mean, Skill Drain helps you more than hurts you. All your all your Burning Abyss monsters won't self-destruct on the field anymore, which is really helpful. Your Dante is a cost to mill 3, so you still get the effect to mill. Yes, you don't get the attack boost, but at least you're still getting your graveyard effects and still having cards like Beatrice, Virgil, and etc. to really push your opponent to really hurt them. That is it for the traps. Now let's move on to the spells. You play, actually I play 3 Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness just really helps with consistency in this deck. I mean, yes, you might banish, you might be unlucky and banish, let's say, a Graph, but I usually don't do that if I have like 1-0 and Graph in my hand if I have this. I usually want to get rid of cards such as like the Cagna or like one of the extra Scarms. But overall, this helps a lot of consistency in the deck. Then I play 2 Twin Twisters just to get rid of that back row. But also, again, if you send any Burning Abyss monster, you still get the graveyard effect. So you also plus from this as well, because you destroyed 2 spells and traps. Also, you get to like get a Graph special summon or a Farfa Disruption. So either way, it's just a really good card in the deck. Now to the one-ofs. I play 1 Foolish Burial, just again for the graveyard effects. 1 Dark Hole, just for the board wipes, because again, you don't really get hindered as much as you don't really get hindered as much from board wipes as your opponent. So this again hurts your opponent more than it hurts you. You get actually pluses off of this a lot of times. Then I play 1 Terminus of a Burning Abyss. This is the main fusion spell of the deck. But yes, it is a fusion spell that brings out the main fusion Dante. This is the only way you can bring out the Dante besides Beatrice. But I also like the graveyard effect. You can banish this from your graveyard, but it's at the turn it's sent to boost when you're Burning Abyss monster by 800 until the end phase. So you can really get over some troublesome cards. Because yes, Dante's a 25 attack, but sometimes that's not really enough to get over some troublesome cards. Like let's say you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field or something that's really big. This is one of the only ways to really get over that troublesome card. Because you'd have an extra 800, so it'd be 32. Then the last spell is Rank Up Magic Astral Force. 90 people, again, don't really play this, but I actually like the versatility by using it in my deck, because again, if it does get milled, you can add it to your hand by not drawing that turn. And I do play 1 extra deck monster, which I'll show you, which does benefit from using this, and actually is a good rank up target for Dante. That's it for the main deck. Now let's move on to the extra deck. I play 3 of one of my favorite extra deck monsters of all time, Dante. Dante is just an amazing card, and arguably probably should have been hit, but I'm just thankful that Konami TCG decided not to hit on the ban list, because they're basically their baby, one of the very first TCG exclusives actually did really good for Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole. But he acquires 2 level 3s, and he gets to attach 1 material and mill 3 cards, up to 3 cards from your deck to graveyard, and gains 500 attack for each card sent. And that's a cost, which is why this card was so ridiculous back then. And it's so good now, it's just kind of slow compared to like cards like Trident, all the crazy combos and such. But yeah, and also when it attacks that turn, you get to switch himself to defense, so you always have a 25 booty on the field, which is also really effective. Now let's move on to the other Burning Abyss monsters. You play 1 Beatrice. I would play more, but unfortunately she is hit to 1 in the TCG, which is kind of understandable because of how ridiculous she was at 3. Beatrice, you just use she's a rank 6, but how you summon her is it's an inherent summon, and you discard a Burning Abyss monster from your hand, and you basically rank it up on top of one of your Dantes you control. And the effect is, besides the turn you special summon it that way, you're going to detach a material, then send any card from your deck to the graveyard during either player's turn. So extra disruption, extra searching, negating effects. There's just so much versatility of Beatrice as a card as a whole. Also, when it's destroyed by battle or card effects by your opponent's card effect, this includes cards like Solemn Warning and Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike. Because yes, you are negating some, but it says in your possession. So If this card gets destroyed, you get to special summon any Burning Abyss monster from your extra deck. So that card include cards like Virgil, the Fusion, and regular Dante, because it just negates the summoning condition. So you bring out the Fusion, and you just have another non-targetable big monster to get rid of, which would be really troublesome for your opponent. Then I play again the one Fusion, because you can bring it out with a Fusion spell or bring it out with Beatrice. His main effect is he cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And you can discard, during either player's turn, you can discard any Burning the Abyss card and then draw one card. So you can discard, like, say, a Farfa or a Graph and get a special summon or a Disruption. Also, when you send to the graveyard by Destruction of Battle or by card effect, he can send one random card from your opponent's hand of a graveyard. So overall, it's just a really good card. Because yes, you can't target him yourself, but on top of that, he's just really hard for your opponent to deal with. He's basically like a Cosmo monster, so to speak, because he's non-targetable. You can't get rid of him. He has a graveyard effect, so it's just overall it's a pretty good card. But I play the one Virgil. Virgil's the main tuner you really go into in this deck. His main effect is you can send one Burning Abyss card from your hand to the graveyard to send one card that is on your opponent's field back to the deck. So it's basically your own version of Castel in the deck, which is so good getting rid of troublesome cards. Now on top of that, if this card is sent to the graveyard by battle or card effect by your opponent, you get to draw one card. So just a little bit of extra draw power. But unfortunately, you cannot control more than one Virgil, because that's kind of understandable. Yeah, because I kind of think having like 3 Virgils on the field would be kind of ridiculous. It'd be basically having like 3 Castels, which would be kind of broken. Then let's move on to the other monsters, extra deck monsters in the deck. I play one number F-Zero Utopic Future. I play him because you play a lot of rank 3s in the deck. So you usually overlay 2 rank 3s, like 2 Dantes or a Dante and something else to make this. So if you attack one of your opponent's monsters, you automatically take control of it, and you can use your opponent's monster to attack one of your other opponent's monsters. This is not target, by the way. So you just get, let's say you're playing against Cosmos, you attack into a Cosmo Dart Destroyer, you take over it, and then you attack with it, which is ridiculous. Also, it has a added protection effect, because you take no damage if you evolving attacks with him. You automatically you can choose to take over the monster, so it's just difficult to deal with. And then on top of that, he has two ways to protect himself. Because if he would be destroyed by a card effect, for example, you can just attach material and he's protected. So you basically have to destroy him 3 times, or bounce him, or banish him to really get rid of him. Then I play the one Constellar Pleiades. This is a rank up magic target in the deck, because since Dante is a rank 3 light warrior as well, you can rank up magic into him as well. And yes, he's just a really difficult card to get rid of as well, because yes, let's say you have troublesome cards your opponent has, you have a hard time dealing with it, and you have rank up magic engrave. You can just add rank up magic engrave, use it on your Dante, and you automatically have a rank 5 Constellar Pleiades on the field. And it's a double bounce, because you can use it on your turn and use it on your opponent's turn, so it's a really difficult monster to deal with. Then I play the one Downward Magician. Downward, it's easy to use in this deck because it requires only 1 rank 3 on the field, so you just equip it to a rank 3, you actually overlay on top of a rank 3 you already control, and it gains 200 attack for each XYZ material that it has. Also, it has piercing damage, but it also has to detach a material after it attacks. That doesn't really hurt you too bad though, because let's say you put it on top of a Dante, you get all that attack boost, and then you get to detach and get the graveyard effect, so overall it's just a pretty good card. Then I play the one number 47 Nightmare Shark, just for attacking for game, because you can attach 1 material, then target any water monster in the field, which is the only one that would be on the field, and then you can attack directly. So basically it's your own version of Cowboy in the deck. Then you play one Kostrick Alucard. He's just for main spot removal, like let's say your opponent has a face down monster, face down spell or trap, you're just worried about dealing with and just want to bait it out, you just use him to detach him and pop it. And speaking of popping, you also play one Super Quantum Mecha Beast, Grand Pulse. Grand Pulse is just good just to get rid of, again, the spells and traps are troublesome that you don't want to deal with at the time. But yeah, he's just kind of he's just very similar to Ghost Trick Alucard, just getting rid of troublesome cards that you don't want to deal with. And then for the last XYZ monster, I play one number 30 Acid Golem. Acid Golem is kind of a hit or miss in this deck. Since some of the main deck monsters are very weak compared to a lot of other decks, you kind of have sometimes have to use a last resort of summoning in the sky to just attack over things. Because the hindrance of this card is that you can't special summon monsters when you have this card in your possession. Also, during each of your standby phases, you have to detach a material or get burned for 2,000 life points. So, he's a 3,000 attacker, but that's really about it. He's just he's a hindrance sometimes, but sometimes when you have like 2 Dantes and you can make a third, you just use this, so you can attack for game for exactly 3,000. But again, it's more so just to get over some troublesome cards. And then for my last monster in the extra deck is my last synchro, Brionac. He's finally back. I use Brionac in this deck with let's say Rubik's effects are negated to actually synchro summon something else besides a Burning Abyss, or use the Speederoid Triad Dice in my deck to make Brio. Because again, like, this bouncing effect is amazing because you can descend any Burning Abyss monster from your hand of graveyard, excuse me, and then bounce any number of cards your opponent controls back to the deck. That's the number you sent anyway. So overall, just a really good card in the deck. That concludes it for the deck profile itself. Overall, this deck is extremely inexpensive, but Burning Abyss monster has been reprinted so many times that the deck is pennies. Like, overall, the main deck is anywhere around, let's say, around 35 to 40. It's just very cheap. The most expensive cards you have to deal with are like cards like Twin Twisters, which just got reprinted, so it's not going to be as expensive. But yeah, this deck is just extremely cheap to make the main deck anyway. And the extra deck, again, like with Dante being reprinted several times, and Beatrice, Virgil, and the big Dante, everything being reprinted so many times, this extra deck by itself is so dirt cheap. It wouldn't be any more than, like, let's say, like $25. It's just extremely cheap, this entire deck. Again, since one of my favorite versions of this deck is Phantom Knight mixed with it, like the PK Fire. Unfortunately, with Breaksword being still around, like, $25 at this time, it's just not Casual Corner worthy. But I'm praying one of these days, before we get links, I'll pray to God links, that I actually can build a Phantom Knight deck, or a Phantom Knight Burning Abyss deck before that happens. Well, that is it for our Casual Corner. I hope you guys had a good time, and make sure to keep watching and keep playing, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.